like lean, like I'm leaning. This is just where she is. Okay.
How do we start this again? I feel like I'm forgetting how to do things.
Yeah, my skills are just atrophying is really the reality. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode.
Let's talk. No, keep it going.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, welcome to this episode of Let's Talk, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We also wanted to do a really big thank you to all of those that have downloaded, liked, subscribed. Thanks so much for your support. We really cannot express how much we appreciate it. And just really hearing from all of you and the positive feedback that we've been getting really makes our hearts warm, and we're just so happy that you're enjoying it. And as always, if you have any other ideas or things that you want to see in the podcast, please email us at tessandwhitney@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, hear your ideas, and we just really want to thank you for all of your support.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week on the pod, we have Marissa. She is a really good work friend of mine and just a good friend in general. And I think her podcast is one that I really needed. Like, I'm literally already getting tears in my eyes talking about it. She's just such a light of positivity. And even when she like goes through hard things, she just knows how to look at it with joy. And I think that everyone kind of needs that right now. And she taught me a lot. She taught Whitney a lot. So I think that this episode will be really enlightening for you guys. So I hope you enjoy. And yeah, remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, whatever. All right.
Yeah, let's get into it. Marissa was awesome. So hope you guys enjoy.
Sometimes, like recently, I find myself on the phone and I'm like stuttering and I can't get, like, even today, oh my gosh, I went to ShopRite like an hour ago and I needed to buy my mom a candle for her birthday. I can't even say the right words.
For her holiday, her own holiday.
And I drop it in the aisle, like shattered everywhere. And I'm just like, what do I do? And this guy, like the guy who worked there, I was like, I'm so sorry. I found him. He had a shop. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I just shattered some glass in that aisle. Can you help me? And he's like,
oh my God.
No problem. Like, happens all the time. And then like he was like being really nice to me, and I was like overwhelmed by how nice he was being, just like considering like he's working in a shop right during a pandemic. Like, I was just like, thank you so much for what you're doing. And then like he was telling me he was gonna clean it up, and I was just like, thank you so thank you. I really appreciate your help. I get it.
Oh my God. Wow, that's really spot on right now for how I'm feeling.
Words are hard.
All right, so let's just get started. Marissa, thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you. We usually just like to ask people what are they drinking and how they're doing. So what's up?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. As soon as Tess told me she was starting this podcast, I was like, oh. And she was like, I'm sure at some point, like, we'll bring you on. And then she texted me and was like, so, like, maybe next week or the week after. I was like, okay, I'm there. So, anyway, I was between drinks. I got finished with my work day, and I was like, I could really go for a glass of wine. But then I was like, that never does it right for me on a weeknight. So I'm drinking some chamomile tea.
Oh my God.
And I drink this every night before bed, and I have a water. I really need to hydrate at all times. So here we are.
You are always drinking fluids, I feel.
Oh my gosh, Tess. Yeah. Lots of them.
That's so interesting. Another thing that Winnie and I are trying to do is kind of ask people what their favorite part of their day was today, or what you're grateful for today, just because of what's going on. We just kind of want to make sure people know that like there's still things to be grateful for and things that are good. So what was good about your day, Marissa?
Yeah, I love that question. That's actually something I do every morning. I like write in my journal, like I'll make gratitude lists. And especially at a time like this. What was that?
I said you're so together. The chamomile tea, the gratitude list.
Oh gosh, Whitney. It's a work in progress. But yeah, it like, especially at a time like this, it really helps me stay grounded. And there's so much to be scared of right now. Today I would say, oh my gosh, today was really hectic, surprisingly. um but I was thinking about this earlier. I'm so thankful that, like, with so many people working from home right now, I live in a house with an extra bedroom, so I actually have an office. And my cat has a little tower in it, and it's really comfortable. There's big windows, like it's not a cubicle. So I'm really thankful for that. Like, just to have like a comfortable working space, and I don't have to, do it out of my bedroom or something.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I also like am grateful every day to have that space. It makes a huge difference. And like being able to separate when you're working from home, it's so hard to separate like work and life. And so if you have like an actual room that you can go into and be like, this is my space where I'm on and this is my space where I relax, because it's so hard to like break that up.
Exactly.
Yeah, Whitney and I have talked about this before. Like, working from home, we complain about it, and like it's hard once in a while, and obviously it's good to recognize that. But when you work from home, like if you work for an hour, you can get up, do 20 squats, and then sit back down, and no one's gonna judge you because you're just stretching out your legs, but no one's gonna be like, "What's she doing over there?" you know.
I love thinking about you like getting up mid work, like
I
just
do.
drop down and do 20 squats.
Sometimes I'll get up and do like a 5-minute workout because I'm like, this can't happen. Like 5-minute jumping jacks, here I go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to post-grad. So why don't we start off, Marissa, with you kind of talking about where you went to school, what you studied, and kind of what that was like for you.
Yeah, so like you lovely ladies, I went to Penn State, and I loved Penn State for so many reasons. And of course, there's the good and the bad with everything. But I think everything that I went through or experienced at Penn State was always a learning experience. And so much of our learning is done outside of class during that time, too. So I studied, my major was called Biorenewable Systems, and it's a newer program in the School of Agriculture. Basically, you learn a lot about sustainability, energy, green energy, and it kind of integrates engineering, business, agriculture, environmental science, like so many things into one, so that you're like a well-rounded whole in like such a progressive field of sustainability. So that was my major. I minored in psychology. I always wanted to be a psychologist. And then I took this class called Psychology as a Profession my first semester, sophomore year. And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm running to the School of Agriculture. I can't do this. So that's how I found my program. And yeah, I'm so thankful that I found it because it was the right fit.
Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. I know that major was really small, and it was like, how many people graduated in your class? Like 30 some people?
Yeah, even less, I think. Like every class that I went to, I was walking from class to class with the same people. So,
Wow.
we still have a group chat. Like we talk in it here and there, like, around the holidays and stuff. But we got really close, and that was so special at such a big university.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's very true. I know with my major, it was very rare that I would have the same people in my classes. So that must have been like a really good feeling. So what I know that you did other things at school. You didn't just do schoolwork all the time. You also were a server, is that right? Or bartender?
Yeah, yeah. I worked in several restaurants throughout college. First, I worked in a Thai restaurant. I was always a server. And then I moved on to work at Barrel 21. It's a distillery in State College. And then after that, I worked at Happy Valley Brewing Company. Both of those were really cool experiences, but it was a huge part of school for me, which is kind of ironic, but it really did help me stay focused and active and motivated because I wasn't always diving into my schoolwork. Like I had an outlet of, you know, I'm making an income and I'm supporting myself, and all the while I'm making friends and having fun. Like football weekends, oh my God. So Happy Valley Brewing Company, it's 2 floors and there's a set of stairs. The downstairs, they call the cellar, and it's like a bar vibe, and the upstairs is like a nicer restaurant vibe with like a really beautiful bar. It's more focused on liquor up there. The downstairs is like the brewery cellar. And oh my gosh, my first weekend there was homecoming weekend.
Oh my God.
And they threw me right in, and I'm like running up and down those stairs, like sweating my ass off, just like totally out of breath. And I didn't know what was going on. And they're just like, take this food to this table, take this food to this table. Like I'm just running all over the place. But you know, it kept me on my toes, and it kept me, you know, focused, and like
When you said, I know.
I know. I love serving. I miss it. I hate it and I miss it at the same time. It's like such a strong love-hate relationship, especially when you're working in like a bar scene. Like I used to bartend weddings, and like that live event of like people and the energy, or watching football games. Like I used to bartend and waitress for football games, and like just the energy, like you don't always feel like you're missing out, because like the energy of the room, the energy of your coworkers is like unbeatable. And also you pocket like a couple $100. Just a side thing. But I get that. And I think that it's like, it was such a good, like mindless work. Like it took effort and like you had to hustle, but it was so good to like not think about math or chemistry or like writing a paper. It's just like freeing to the mind.
yes, it really was. Yeah.
Do you miss it? Did you do any of that after post-grad?
I did actually. I've been with the same company since I graduated with Michelle's, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But I at one point I first moved out with my parents the December or January really following my May graduation, and at this point I was working in our main office, classic 9 to 5 job. You know, I had like weekends off and whatever, and I still technically do, but I work on the weekends. So I picked up a job at a restaurant in Manayunk. Manayunk is in Philadelphia, and that's actually where I still live now. So I was doing that for a little while. That was the craziest, like talk about post-grad. Like I was working 3 jobs. I was working my 9 to 5 job. I was working in a garden center a few nights a week, and then I was working this restaurant job on the weekends. So
Hustler.
Yeah, can I just ask, so was that just primarily so you could, you know, get out of your parents' house and kind of have your own life, or was it just for your mental being to kind of have yourself involved in all these different things?
yeah, so I tend to overwork myself. Um but that kind of just fell into place that way. So I was moving, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna need a second job, at least, you know, to feel like comfortable. And I had talked with my soon to be sales manager about maybe working in a local garden center, just to be a little bit more exposed to the hands-on aspect of the business. And nothing was really like falling into place, and it was around Christmas time, so you know, what garden center needs to hire someone right now? And so I picked up a job at the restaurant. 2 weeks later, my sales manager is like, hey Marissa, like, you know, they need some help over here. You want to like take a couple shifts a week and help them out? And I'm like, yeah, of course, like that's so exciting, awesome. So you know, then I like book my all of my waking hours, and like I'm like taking naps in my car, and like, oh my God, it was such a time. But it was really like, it was awesome. Like I was tired, but yeah, it was exhausting.
Do you do you like recommend other people do that to kind of learn how to balance things or anything? I just think it's so interesting that you did it, and you did it for a long time. Like it wasn't just for a couple months. Like you really did enjoy serving, and you liked working at the garden center. It just was one thing after another, which made it that hard.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't recommend anything like that to anyone. Mainly because everyone's different.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't recommend to someone having one job versus 2, 3, 4 jobs, whatever. Everyone's different. For me, I like to overwork myself sometimes, and, I'll get exhausted and have to like recharge, but yeah, I'm not sure I would recommend it per se.
No, I just wanted to ask because I just know who you are and I know that you like working, and I just wanted to see what your response would be because I know some people obviously would not do that, but you enjoy that adrenaline rush.
You know me so well.
Whitney
Can I
though
ask-
too.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I need my life to be chaotic. I thrive on it. I like fall apart if it's not. Are you still serving? Are you still doing that? Or are you like, my 9 to 5 is not a 9 to 5 anymore and that's giving me plenty of chaos?
Yeah, so I guess I'll get into this now. I started with my current company, Michelle's, when I graduated, and the first year, basically July 2019 to July 2020, I was working. My position title was sales associate. I was working in the office. I was, bouncing around the different departments. I worked in the seed department. I worked in the nursery department, and just a background so the listeners know what the company is. Um, it is a wholesale horticultural broker. So basically, we're the middleman between the growers and the customers being garden centers, nurseries, places like that, greenhouses. And I lost my train of thought.
She said, I'm too busy thinking about other things.
So yeah, then this past July, I was hired in a proper sales role in a territory. I have Eastern Pennsylvania now. So it's really a change. It's a change in position. I stopped working in the restaurant maybe right after the holidays last year. So just about a whole year ago. I was only working there for about 4 or 5 months. Um, so yeah, it's very different now. I'm on the road. I'm not working in our main office. I'm visiting customers. I'm, talking to people, and that's what I love. And like talk about chaotic. And I don't use chaotic in a negative sense at all. Like it's the best. It's, I'm moving here, I'm moving there. I need my head on a swivel and like my brain on a swivel. So yeah, it's been really fun.
No, that's so good. That makes a lot of sense. And what was that kind of like path like? Because I know we talk a lot about for post-grad, like going from step to step and trying to like climb up to where you want to be, and like kind of the frustration with getting there. And I'm really curious. So you started kind of in that 9 to 5 that you don't love, and then you are now in a space that you want to be. And I'm kind of curious what that was like for you, because that's been really hard, I think, for myself and a lot of other people.
Yes, absolutely. And Tess and I actually started out together. So for the listeners, Tess and I work for the same company, and that's how we met. When Tess was an intern, I had just started full time. I'm 1 year ahead of Tess, I guess, and Whitney, you're my year, right?
I graduated with Tess, but took a gap year, so I'm your age, but Tess is
Right.
here.
Right. Okay. So that's how it all started. And that was like, that summer we like lacked work.
I'm just laughing because I feel like I have trauma.
I mean, Tess and I, we were basically both in an intern position and given whatever work that they could use us for, and it was a slow part of the year, and it just so happened that like we weren't challenged, we didn't have enough work to do, and so like coming out of that and now being so challenged and learning so many life skills right now, a year in the office allowed me so many things. It allowed me to make relationships within the office, and those people now I talk to on the phone almost every day. Like they help me with things, and it's so amazing that I was able to build those relationships because so many people on the road in my same position never had that. So, even though it took a little bit of time for me to get to where I want to be, and I'm still not where I want to be, but there's so much room for growth. And that's something that I would say to any post-grad, like it's so hard in the first year of a new job to feel like, you have a future,
She said that's a customer right now.
so sorry for that. To feel like you have a path, it's hard, and every day feels like long, and you're just focused on like, well, I want that future, I want that light at the end of the tunnel, but you just got to take it slow. And for me, I give myself strides. So I'm like, okay, like 6 months from now, how do I want to feel? What do I want this to look like? And if I'm not being challenged enough at work, who can I sit down with to talk to about, my manager, or, my colleague? Hey, what more can I be doing? Is there more that I can be doing for you, or maybe helping another department? I want you to put me to work and challenge me. So like, who can we ask? What are our resources to get us where we want to be?
I love that. I think that's so smart. And like, I recently heard this quote that was like, lead from where you are, or like lead from the bench. I don't know, something like that. And I feel like that was so meaningful to me. And that's kind of like what I feel like you're saying, where it's like, just figure out how to make it work for you where you are and be patient. Not a strong suit of mine personally, but I do think that it's like, yeah, I think that's awesome advice. And something that like, I think I will value, just to try to figure out, making the best of where you are in your situation. And it's just always going to look different.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even in this position now, I started July 1st, and one of my coaches, mentors, someone we work with, he helps me out a lot, and he said to me, the first 3 months, they're going to be horrible. They're going to be so bad. And he was like, the next 3 months after that, they're going to be bad. They're just going to be bad, like not horrible. They're going to be bad. Maybe hit the year mark and you'll start to pick up on things. so, and if you can talk to your colleagues and the people you work with that kind of humor, and even just the feedback of, you're not alone and other people have gone through what you're going through, you're going to get through it and you're going to get to where you want to be. Like, that's so valuable.
Wow. Yeah. And I do think it's important, like you're really emphasizing that, like you need to get the support and earn the support before you keep moving up. Like I do think, like I kind of forget sometimes that you have to prove yourself first before you start making your way. I'm immediately like, where's the power? But I think it's important to remind yourself that, yeah, it takes time, talk to people, communicate, and then you'll get there. Wow. Thank you for your advice.
Oh yeah, communication is key, and patience.
I'm so bad at that.
Yeah.
What can I do? Do you have advice, Marissa, for how to improve on patience? You don't have to answer that. I just feel like I'm consistently struggling with it, and I don't really know how to navigate it.
I totally understand that. And someone else we work with actually said this to me when I first started out. In this current position, I'd already been with the company for a year. I was getting very impatient. I had several sit downs with, people in the company just to ask questions and pick their brain and see, how can I get myself where I want to be? Like, when is that next step coming? And finally I got there, and he told me, with yourself, be patient, but be very impatient. So, nothing's going to happen overnight, but you're going to have to keep working. You're going to have to keep pushing yourself. So in that sense, you're being impatient. Like, you're working hard, you're on your toes, like you're motivated, you're waking up every day and just like diving right into your work. But
Wow.
At the same time, that takes time. You can't just work really hard for 1 month and then it all comes together. And I don't know if that really helps, but another thing that helps me is like just taking it day by day. Like, you can, sometimes I set strides for myself, like 6 months, a year, like I'm going to keep doing this for however long it takes. And I'm going to like see that light at the end of the tunnel. But also just like waking up and just saying, okay, all I need to worry about is today. And I don't need to worry about every single day where I'm going to be 6 months from now, even though we constantly think about it. Sometimes I just got to check in with myself and be like, I only have today right now, and that's it. And I don't have to worry about, 2021, 2022. Like, no, not right now.
I
Yeah.
really like that advice too. And the strides I think is really smart. And Tessa is the one that has always told me, like, think about a month from now, think about 6 months from now, and what things will look like. And that's something that I really hold on to. And I feel like I had like a consistent, like, shitty month or like a shitty week. She's always like, no, like, think about a month from now and how different things will be, or like think about how you can get to where you want to be 6 months from now. But also trying to take everything day by day and do the best that you can with what resources you have and the day that you have. I think that's a really good reminder, especially right now, because we can't plan or for really much at all. And in 6 months, you can't look at 6 months anymore and say this is what this will look like. So I think taking it day by day is so important too.
Yeah, and we can paint it in a negative light or in a positive light, like, feeling so impatient and antsy and like I want to get to where I want to be, and we can be hard on ourselves and, in that sense paint it in a negative way that, why am I not getting there? Why is this happening? Like, whatever you may ask yourself or tell yourself about you, or you can say like, I have a job right now. It's a pandemic. Like, I've been doing it for whatever it may be, 3 months, 6 months, 5 months, and I'm working to where I want to be. And if you can just picture in your head, like, this is exciting and I have the opportunity to get somewhere. So let me like manifest that every day and think about, just like imagine what that looks like for me and where I want to be. It's like, if you can think about that every day, then you're going to get there. But if you're constantly being hard on yourself and being like, oh, this is taking so long, like, I just want to get there already, then, it might make it a little bit harder.
No, I feel like this is really, this is why I text you and call you when I have a hard time, because you slap me out of it. And I think I think it's important. And I do think you really believe and you really work towards manifestations. I think that's very interesting about you, that you feel like if you can think of something and you're dreaming of it, it'll happen. And I think that I need to have that, and to just know that like it'll happen eventually. It'll not happen tomorrow, but it'll happen eventually. And I really needed this advice right now, because your girl's been racking her brain. So I just feel like it's interesting. So mentally, in terms of all this, you feel good about your life and you feel good about where you're at right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And, so much goes into it. Like, how you say like manifesting those things. I write
Mhm.
down every day what I want in life. And, I think about it constantly. And it's more than just being, yeah, yeah. I mean, not every single day, but, like I write things down, and I'm a writer, I'm a journaler. So I write down these things like, these are my goals. This is where I see myself in a year from now. And I just think about it just to be like, ooh, I can get excited for this. It's a year we're all going through it. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, I've just felt so grateful through all of this. Like, got a roof over my head. I've got food. I've got a healthy family. Like, and right now, like, that's not as, common as you would like. So just
Yeah.
those little things, like, and I have a job and I work for an amazing company. Like, Michelle's is so respectable, and I have so much respect for the company and, the way they run things. So I'm just thankful to like have a job that I enjoy and that I'm passionate about. And another thing, like, I'm still learning. Like, I'm learning every day, and that's huge for me. Like, I love learning.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I'm lucky to be doing really well in this, unprecedented time. If I hear that word one more time, I'm gonna blow up.
No, I mean, it's definitely nice to talk to someone who's very clear and kind of just sees the light and everything. I feel like recently, I think also with like the seasons changing and everything, it's just been hard to kind of pull myself out of that. So I feel like kind of talking to you and talking through it is helpful for me and for other post grads that graduated in 2020, like I think we were all kind of hit a little bit of a depression afterwards. So I think that it's nice to have this conversation with someone who's like, you're gonna get there.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like I really strongly believe in positivity, but at the same time, we're all going through things. I have really hard days. Like some days are really challenging, and at the end of the day I just curl up in my bed and like, sometimes I got to cry it out, and it happens. Like the best we can do is like be nice to ourselves and like not be too hard on ourselves, cuz like this is what we were given. Like you guys graduated during such a hard time, and that's what you were given, and like you're going to make beautiful things out of it, but it's hard. So like it's not always like butterflies and rainbows, but I try to focus on that kind of stuff.
I know, I kind of want to ask you like what has been hard, but I don't know if that'll trigger you.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, well, at the start of the pandemic, I was living at home. My mom works in a hospital. She's a pediatric nurse, so luckily she doesn't work directly with COVID patients, but you know, very precautious. And it's a lot. My dad's high risk, and we were living, the three of us. So I got to the point of, okay, I'm starting this new job. I'm going to be on the road now, seeing people every day. I don't want to bring something home. And that's when I found a place with my now roommate. And yeah, I mean, like I moved in August, and honestly, it's been really great, but just transitioning into a new job is hard, and I'm learning a lot, but there's really challenging days. Plants are an interesting product to work with because oftentimes they die, they get disease, they get damaged when they're shipping. So, customers aren't happy, and you really got to learn how to navigate those situations, how to fix things, and how to de-escalate a situation when a really unhappy customer is being super court with you on the phone. And I've had people curse me out, and I've learned how to navigate those conversations. I'm here to help you, and maybe would you like to give me a call back when you calm down a little bit, and we can talk this through, and I'm going to find you a solution. But at first, like the first time, someone ever got a little bit heated with me on the phone, I just shut down. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I'm like hysterically crying because I'm like, I don't know how to handle this situation. Like, I need to call my manager. What am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to say? But those are hard days that have taught me huge life skills. So the good and the bad, it comes together.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. And you mentioned two things that I want to touch on. One is kind of that transitioning into a new job is really hard. And I think that, a lot of postgrads that are going into new careers right now or that are switching careers are going to see that transitioning, no matter how great the company is or how great your role might be, is really hard. And I'm curious if you have like, how long do you feel like it takes for you to get past that transition phase and into the whole like I'm here and I'm ready to rock? Or like what is your advice for working through that transition phase? Because that's just an inevitable, I think, for everyone our age right now.
Yes. Like any new thing brings its own challenges. For me, I started in July, so I guess I'm at month 5. And luckily, I had a good bit of training, but I know I have a lot to learn. I think it's different with any job. I would like to think that maybe by next July or August, I'm like feeling comfortable and confident. And I do to an extent now, but it's just different in any job, like the person that was telling me how tough, the first 3 months are, and then the next 3 months. And he ends with, at about 3 years, you're going to feel really good about where you are. So it totally depends.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that I know exactly who you're talking about, on brand. But I do think it's important to be real like that with yourself, and to know that like it's not an overnight thing, and it's also not going to happen in the year. It's going to take time. So that's true. Whitney, what was your other thing that you touched on?
I'm curious what it was like to live with a room, like kind of going and finding like a roommate, and what that has been like for you. That's something I would love to learn more about.
Yeah, so my roommate now is one of my really close friends from college. Um, she found a job in Philly, um, starting in August. So the timing worked out perfectly. I was starting to think, maybe I should move out. Maybe this is the right time. My parents were like, well, don't move out. It's a pandemic. You don't know what's going to happen. But I was like, I'm working though, and I don't want to bring germs home to you. Like, I don't know. I'm being safe. I'm wearing a mask, and anyone I talk to, we're distanced and we're hand sanitizing, we're washing our hands, doing all of the things. But it's the fear that I could get them sick. So, yeah, moving in with my roommate is amazing. I mean, we've spent so much time together that we know we can live together well. We have 3 bedrooms. We actually have a house. So like it's really perfect. You walk in, there's a little sunroom, and then we've got our living room, and then we have a dining room, and then we have a kitchen and a downstairs bathroom. And I don't know how this fell into place, but it's in our budget, which I'm like, we're not rich, trust me. Like, we're recent graduates, you know? Um, so yeah, it's been perfect. We live right down the street. We live in the city, but if you're familiar with Philadelphia at all, like Wissahickon Park and Valley Green, our block is an entrance to those parks. There are these beautiful parks with like so many trails and creeks, and like in the summertime we would go and swim in the creek over there. Like I I don't know how it worked out so well, but we're really comfortable, and I'm really lucky that I have a good roommate, and here we are.
Wow. That is good for you. I feel like it's so hard to find a spot where we work that's like affordable and fun.
Yeah, it really, that one really just fell into place this year. 2020 threw me a bone there.
Thank God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Like, I mean, maybe not in the podcast, but just in general about how like you really a lot of times as a post grad with what loans are and what you're making, you often need to live with a roommate. And so it almost like I live with my partner now, but I'm like, if I didn't, then I would 1,000,000% need a roommate to afford the cost of living. And so it's such a weird thing where it's like when you graduate from college, you can have, or when you go into college, you have all those Facebook groups where you can be like, I'm so fun and I love Netflix and partying. And like that, like, and you can find people and it's natural and it's not super weird because you're all going into a similar point in your life. But post grad, it's like, do you look on Facebook? What do you do if you don't already know someone? And so it's like kind of trying to navigate that. But it sounds like you already knew your roommate, which is amazing, and it sounds like you're doing great, which is just so good to hear. It's definitely like it's a weird thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine, navigating that, like not knowing someone, but needing to move in somewhere and needing a new place to live at a time like this. It's
Mhm.
scary. Like that, I can't imagine what people go through this year with, living situations and
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, it's like who can you trust? Like if you are looking for a roommate and you don't really know them, like can you really trust them right now with COVID? So I'm happy that you found a spot and that things are happy for you in that way, because freedom like that is really important. And yeah, you live in a nice area too. You're doing it, Marissa.
Tessa, you just gotta like, I'm telling you, just like think about the things you want, it'll happen. No, I'm so kidding. That is not how it works. But this one really just fell into place. Yeah.
No, I think sometimes things like that do happen for a reason. So I feel like it'll come my way soon, hopefully. I'm manifest. I need to start journaling too. Here I go.
Here we go. Yeah. We'll talk later.
Honestly, yeah. So I'm curious about like friendships and what that's been like. So you're obviously living with a friend, but how has it been with other friendships? Have you made new ones? Have you lost some? Kind of what that's been like? Because I know that Whitney and I have talked about how it's hard to make friends for us right now and it's hard to keep friends. So what is your take on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I am interested to hear about, like what your experience is with graduating this past year. Um, because you moved to a new place, and I know Whitney, like you have moved out of your hometown. Where maybe are you living?
I like don't really have a hometown. I
Yeah.
feel like at this point in my life, but I'm not living with family. I'm like 3 hours away, so it's been a really interesting experience to move in the middle of a pandemic, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I can't imagine trying to socialize, and I mean, luckily you live with someone that you love, but it's hard to find new people and branch out, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely really different. And I feel like I've always really made it a priority to not have my significant other like wear all the hats for me. So I don't want him to be like my best friend, the one that I tell, you know what I mean? Like I feel like in some ways it's like, yes, he's my best friend. Yes, I love him. But I feel like I've always really valued having other people in my life, whether that's family or other girlfriends or other guy friends, whatever it is. Like I've loved that and valued that. And so I feel like it puts this pressure on maybe our relationship a little bit because I'm like, I can't create that here in the middle of a pandemic naturally. And so that's been something that I'm trying to navigate. And I think I'm doing the best that I can. I've started volunteering and I found 2 girls through that network, but it's still like, people are being exposed to COVID constantly, whether they are super safe or not, it just happens. And so we like only see each other occasionally and it'll be like 2 weeks space. It's just so weird and we're doing our best, but I'm at least happy to feel like I've started talking to people. But it's so weird when you try to move and make friends because it almost feels like you're dating, It's like, well, we have to go to dinner first, or like, let's just grab a drink because that's really casual. Like, you're not inviting people over for a wine night until you've gone on like 3 dates first.
Yes, yes. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a lot, but that's kind of my experience. But we're still like, yeah, curious to hear what it's been like for you too.
Yeah. So it's kind of like transformed. Like in March, we were like, oh my God, we're all in lockdown. Like, let's have a Zoom happy hour. Like, let's have a Zoom this and a Zoom that. And it kind of over the summer, luckily, I go down to the beach in Margate with my family in the summer a lot, like on the weekends. And one of my really good friends, she also goes down like less than a mile away from us. So we were able to get together, like, because, you're outside and you can sit on the beach and distance. So, like, that was such an amazing outlet. And our friends would come down for a day trip, and like you can set your chairs up all separate, so it was just the perfect situation. um and so those relationships I've been able to really maintain. Those are like my local friends. We're a group of like 4 girls, and that's made it easier that we're able to do things outside and like hiking and stuff like that. um in terms of like my college friends, I have a handful of really close friends. Yeah, like actually a handful, like 5. Um, and we're pretty good about keeping in touch. We're texting, we're FaceTiming, and it's different. Like we really miss each other. Um, and there are periods where we don't see each other for months, but when was it? Maybe, oh my gosh, one of my best friends, I saw her a couple months ago, and it was really nice. Like we both knew we were like safe, and we had been like isolating, and we gave each other a huge hug, and it's just, like oh my God, like I'm emotional. Like it's just, you miss it. You miss hugging your friends and just being with your friends, and we never thought this would be how it was. Luckily I haven't really lost any friends through this, but it's hard. Like it it's just hard.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to make an even more of a point than you already would have had to after graduating. It makes it hard in general. But now it's like you have to make an even more of a point to reach out to that person. And it's hard because now you can dodge people and be like, I don't actually want to hang out with you because COVID. But it's like, maybe I'm just saying that because I don't know if I want to be your friend. So it's just a whole, I'm happy that you have friends, you have people you care about, and that's really healthy. But yeah, we just like to ask that question just to kind of see if people are out with friends and making friends, because friendships are so important and they help you grow in different ways. And I just feel like right now I'm in a rut and I don't really know what to do because I feel like I'm on my own little island with my parents and can't really do much. So I just, yeah, it's
Yeah.
your
Ma-
take on it.
Making friends is the hard part. Like, I'm grateful to have the friends that I have. But I love meeting new people. And I think I would be meeting a lot more people if this weren't the situation. So yeah, I can't imagine, like, when I was living at home with my parents, I started to get really antsy and just like, you know, it it gets boring and it gets lonely, you love your parents. But all the time.
Well, the thing is, I remember I saw this quote somewhere. I don't remember where or when or how, but I just remember it really stuck with me. And it was like someone talking about how your parents see you as one person, but in reality, you're another. Like it's not like you're a whole different ball of wax, but you show a different side of yourself to your parents than you would show other people because they have this take on you and this perspective of you as like their child. And you only show them what they want to see. And sometimes when I think about my inner monologue, I'm like, that's so right. So yeah, I mean, I obviously I'm on that same page and I've been with them since March all day, every day. So
So
I
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
Minnie, did you have anything else you wanted to add? It looked like you were getting ready.
Um, no, I just got startled because there was a car alarm going off outside of my window. That was it. But I will. I just think the conversation. That's what that look was. I think the conversation on Friends is really interesting and something that I think you mentioned that I really resonate with is that in the beginning of COVID, everyone was like Zoom calls, happy hours, like everyone was really ready to do Zoom and do virtual. And so were we. But I feel like now people are like, I just did at home learning all day long. I looked at a screen all day long and my head hurts and I'm done. And I don't want to do this happy hour because I'm already, and I feel that way. But it's like, how do you maintain those connections with people? You can't see them in person. And like doing a happy hour feels almost like I don't know, everyone's brain hurts. And it's after I do it, I'm like, that was a good, it's kind of like working out where it's like beforehand, I'm like, I don't want to look at a screen. But after I do it, I was like, that was so good for me. But yeah, I think that's something that we're experiencing with like having done this since March. And um, yeah,
Yeah.
just that good old virtual fatigue.
It's
Mm-hmm.
also like I don't really know how to talk to people anymore. Like that sounds really bad, but like right now I'm having a like the way I'm wording questions and asking you questions isn't normal.
Oh my God.
Like, I genuinely feel like that's another thing is like if I were to be like, hey, here's a friend, like maybe you should go talk to her. If I were to meet someone new, I would struggle, if that makes sense. And like I don't know if that's my fault or if it's COVID's fault or whatever, but it's true. Which
Yeah.
is why I was having heart palpitations before you logged on.
Hey, I mean, I told you my story about yeah, I can't get words out, but we'll get there.
So do you kind of want to talk about dating and what that's been like for you, or do you feel like that's just kind of pass on that?
Well, I mean, there's not much to talk about.
I mean, it's so good though, because I feel like a lot of people are experiencing the same thing too, you know?
Yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's been a year to focus on myself. Like when it all started, I was living at home. I wasn't in a city anyway. It was just like, okay, like I'm gonna do yoga every day and work out and like hang out with my parents and my cat and like there's like it's not an option right now. Like dating's not really an option right now. And of course, like I've downloaded like a dating app and I'm not into it. I tried it. Like I'm open to everything, but just, it it seems tough to really get to talking with anyone. So, yeah, I'm just like taking the time for myself and I'm okay with that. Like
So good.
That's great.
No, I mean, it's good that you're taking this time to like do it positively and to actually check in on yourself. I feel like that's a hard thing for people to actually genuinely do and sit down and be like, okay, who do I want to be? How am I for other people? What's happening? I remember Whitney said something one time that I was like, oh, I need to check myself. When you said in like a podcast where you're like, what I want to date myself. And sometimes I feel like I need to do that because she's been a little crazy. So I think that that's really good, Marissa, that you took the whole year to just kind of be like, who's Marissa? What does she want? Yoga every day? Here I go.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, and that it's funny you said dating yourself. Because one girl I follow on Instagram, she had listened to these podcasts and they're all about like radically dating yourself for like 6 months or a year, whatever works for you. And specifically like scheduling dates with yourself, like whether it be like you actually go to a restaurant with yourself and sit down and have a date, or like you do these things with yourself that you wouldn't think like this is something I should do alone, but you always think like, oh, I want to do this with friends. Like I want to go on a hike with friends. I want to, go on a date night with my boyfriend. Like that's great, but why don't we do those things with ourselves?
Wow.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that I mean, I didn't date for a really long time and I feel like it was a really good choice for me. And I think that, I don't know, I love spending time alone and like doing activities and like taking myself on little dates. And I think that it makes me happy. But I think in terms of dating myself, I'm like, in terms of how I act as like a partner, like what I want, if I am like being, I don't know, am I somebody I want to be around romantically or like, I don't know. I feel like that's my gut check a lot of the time with my attitude. I'm like, is this good? Are we good?
No, yeah. I mean, last week was really rough for me. And I just remember being like, wow, because I didn't reach out to you, Whitney. I didn't reach out to anybody because I was like, I don't want to put people through this because I can't even put myself through this right now. So why would they want to be around me? So I think it's interesting, like dating yourself. And I remember I traveled by myself last summer. And I remember Marissa, I was telling you, I was like, I can't do this. Like I am paranoid. I am stressed. And you were like, why? It's exciting. Like you can just take care of yourself and that's it. And I just remember being like, no, like that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, I'm by myself all day, every day. Like I'm scared. But now I love being alone.
Yeah.
I don't get enough of it.
Yeah. I love that you remember me saying that. That's so funny.
You were genuinely mad at me though. You were like, why are you upset about this? And I was like,
Taz, I don't think I could ever be mad at you.
well, I remember I pulled up on my phone how long it would take to drive to Sacramento and not fly. I was like, if I get in my car now, I could get there and just avoid the whole plane situation. Like, why would you do that? That's one of the best parts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
You are so funny.
It's bad. But like it's important for people like me to like take a minute to be like, okay, who are you? What do you want out of yourself? Get it together, girl,
Yeah. I also just want to say, like, I love that you both are so candid and honest about, like how you're feeling and stuff. I feel like it's so valuable and like it gives like a lot of substance to your podcast, like coming from a listener herself.
Normally I think that I'm dramatic, but I appreciate you wording it that way.
Well, the drama's good too. I love it. And sometimes like when the dairy farmer, he made you cry, Tess, and he's like,
oh my God, that was bad.
I loved it. I loved
the
it.
Dairy farmer.
Was that right?
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just laughing because that's.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sure he loves it, honestly.
Shout out.
But yeah, I think that's why Whitney and I wanted to do this, is because we are so open about talking about emotions, and a lot of people like to hide it and just ignore it. But here we are. Sometimes it's a little bit too much.
It's never too much.
If you have any words of wisdom, I mean, you've already kind of said a lot, but if there's anything you still wanted to touch on that you wish someone touched on for you when you graduated and sort of helped you prepare for, that's something we like to include?
Yeah, I do have something that's always stuck with me, and I guess my senior year in college, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you about how I found my current job, because I feel like that is like oftentimes such a process for people, especially now with everything going on. And something we constantly hear is you don't have enough experience. And how are we ever going to have enough experience if every position requires like 3 to 5 years? So I was lucky enough to actually find my job at a career fair at Penn State. This was the beginning of my senior year in college, and I'm just walking around with my like booklet, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going next. And I had never heard of Michelle's, but what do you know? Rick Michelle pulls me out of the crowd, and he's like, "You like flowers?" And I'm like, "Who is this man? What does he want from me?" So we get to talking, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do. What can you tell me about your company? I'm sorry, I haven't heard of Michelle's before." And they start telling me, we're a horticulture, wholesale horticulture, and this is what we do. And then I realized that he was Rick Michelle. Maybe we have to cut his name out. I don't know.
He was the Michelle's.
He was the Michelle. So he was the owner of the company, and I was talking to him, and he was very approachable, and he was there with the nursery department manager, Tess, and we all had a really great conversation. And it was the one booth I went to that felt like I wasn't pitching. I was being myself and having a valuable conversation. And so then maybe I sent him a follow-up email, or maybe he sent me one. We set up an interview for Thanksgiving break. um it was long. I think I was there for about 4 or 5 hours. I took a like personality assessment with maybe 4 or 5 different people to talk with them, and they asked me some questions about my resume. But yeah, the interview process was relatively easier for me. That being said, I did spend a year in, a position that I didn't see myself in long term. It just wasn't challenging me as much as I wanted it to. So I didn't struggle so much in the interview process, which is a blessing, but everyone has confusion in their first year out of college, in their first 2 years, 5 years. Our 20s are a time of transitions. There's so much change. So the best advice, or at least what has resonated with me the most, was when I was graduating, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I didn't even study horticulture. How am I ever going to learn? I didn't grow up in a garden center, but you just got to tell yourself you can do it. And my dad said to me, he was like, he's a retired high school teacher, and he was like, I'm a retired high school teacher, and I still don't know what I want to do. So you don't need to know. If you can enjoy, today, and just love today, and like have a great time today, then you start to enjoy tomorrow, and then you start to enjoy the day after that, and then it's just a whole chain of like every day you're liking it, and you're starting to love your life. So if you can, slow down and just try to really enjoy this day, and like find something today that you're enjoying and liking, then eventually you're going to just really start to love your life. And it's hard to like have that, awareness, but if you can try, then it can really benefit, I think. Like, at least me, like it really benefits me mentally to try and do that.
Yeah, I love that advice. And my mom always says the same thing, that she still doesn't know what she wants to be when she grows up or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good thing to kind of carry with you, and that your major doesn't define you, and that what you're doing right now doesn't define you if you're not happy. And the whole like look at what you want to be and who you want to be in 6 months or a year and 2 years, and just try to manifest it and make it your plan. And it's okay if in 2 years you tried to work towards something and you hate it, you just move on again. And if you can be happy, you can be happy. I think that's great advice.
Yes, like, you do not need to know. you don't. Like, and like Whitney, you and I, our parents who are, you know, have a whole life that, you know, we haven't experienced yet, they still are saying we don't know. So it's okay. Like, just
Yeah.
try to enjoy it.
Mm, wow.
Tess, how
Reminds
are
me.
you doing over there?
I'm just soaking it in. I feel like I really needed this. Like really needed this. So I'm one trying to hold back tears and two just trying to think about it for myself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, you know, even though I'm even like speaking all of this and like there it might come off as like a lot of positivity and like everything's all good, like you know, it's our days are challenging and we all have bad days and you just got to take the good with the bad. And you know, like I don't I don't know it, like I don't know anything, I don't know everything, I don't know anything, like
Well,
I
and I appreciate you saying that because, you know, I think a lot of my motto and things I've told Chris and Whitney and all these people that are important to me, I've always said it's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel anger and be mad, like feel your emotions. But at the same time, it's so hard for me then to get out of it. Like I was upset like what last Wednesday and I'm just now stepping out of it. So I think it's kind of like a healthy balance. And I think that with everything going on, it is a little challenging to know even what that balance looks like. But I appreciate you saying live in today because I think a lot of what I've been doing every day is okay, what's going to happen to me? What is my life going to look like in the summer? Am I going to be living with my boyfriend? Am I going to be doing more things with my job? Am I going to be okay? Is my brother and sister going to be okay? Like I think about all these things and all I really need to focus on is putting numbers into an Excel sheet and calling my boss. Like I need to just take a breath and realize it's going to be okay. Just make yourself lunch and get through the day.
yes,
So,
yes. Speaking of lunch, like I actually like sometimes I'll write down like just thoughts that I have. And the other day I wrote down, I was just like, try to enjoy eating lunch with yourself. Cause like in our busy season, I'm like, you know, like I have like a hoagie in one hand and like my hand on the wheel in the other, and I'm like flying like around the road, like, and I'm not enjoying my lunch. And so I was like, you know what, like I'm not on the road right now. I'm inside, like, you know, let me like sit down for 20 minutes and enjoy my lunch. Like I don't need to check my email during lunch. Like give me 20 minutes. That's all
yeah.
I need. So nice that you guys are so engaged with like of course you have to be your like a podcast host, but I love that like you're so interested and engaged and like just want to like hear everyone's experience. It's awesome.
Wow, thank you. I love it though. I think that everyone has a story and everyone has something to learn from. And like I don't know everything. And also I don't know anything about post-grad. I'm a novice at this. So I feel like learning from people that have like a little bit more time or like experiences that are different than mine. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like it helps us put the puzzle pieces together for ourselves, kind of seeing what everyone else is doing. So, yeah, have you ever watched The Good Witch on Hallmark?
No.
You remind me of her. You should watch it because I feel like a lot of what you're saying, Hallmark, honestly, can we talk about that for a second? Can we pivot on this podcast? If you're looking for something to make you feel good right now during this time, Hallmark, like, love it. But you remind me of the Good Witch. So if you ever have time, Marissa, and if anyone knows Good Witch, email us at tessandwhitney at gmail.com.
Oh my God.
So I guess we can talk about 2 words. Do you have 2 words about your post-grad life, Marissa?
um yes, I actually thought about this ahead of time, and I think it's a great prompt because it really makes you narrow it down. Like there are not 2 words that could describe my whole experience. But and you know, actually my first word is transformative. I just think even if it weren't a pandemic, the year after graduating college is there's so much growth, there's so much change, and then, you know, we were presented with all of these other obstacles that we had to overcome and navigate and work around. And you know, I feel so lucky that I did graduate when I did, and I felt so much for you both and your whole class graduating in this time, because it's just so different. Like it's just wild what a year can make a difference in. Um, but yeah, transformative for sure. And I I had another one in mind. So I'm going to end up giving you three because I don't want to give you this one. Ooh, I really liked one of your guests said metamorphic. That was also cool. I liked that.
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty similar to transformative, but metamorphic is like more like, you know, you're like coming out of your shell. And anyway, I can't think of another word, but what I had thought of before was exhausting, because it has been exhausting, and not necessarily in a bad way. I feel like I've done so much that sometimes I get to the point of, wow, like, am I getting burnt out? And it's taught me how to, you know, step back and recharge. I actually took this this quiz that's done by this psychiatrist. She has like all these questions that you have to answer, and she categorizes rest into 7 categories. And she really like speaks to the difference between rest and sleep. And the categories are like physical, mental, emotional, then whatever they are. And it kind of evaluates like your responses and shows you, you know, you need more physical rest. But physical rest doesn't necessarily mean like laying down. It could mean like working out, because your body is like responding negatively to you sitting in a chair all day. So your body needs working out in order for you to sleep, or whatever it may be. So I did that, and it like really opened my eyes to, you know, a different form of rest, just like self-care in the simplest phrase. So exhausting, but like not necessarily in a bad way, just like, you know, staying busy and like staying active. And it's been fun.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's so interesting. The like different forms of rest. I think I need to look into that. Do you know the name of the psychologist?
Yeah. I'll send you a link. I don't know it off. Oh, restquiz.com. She really
Okay.
really got that URL right.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it takes like 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. I like those words though, and I think it's good that you're not looking at exhausting as like this like miserable, negative, I'm drained, everything sucks type of way, but more as like I've really moved and I've done a lot, and I feel positive about where I am. I think that's awesome.
I brought a guest.
Oh,
hi, cutie.
Her name's Adora.
That's such a good.
Chubby. I feel like I remember her being chubbier.
Yeah, she goes through her phases. Thanks for the compliment. Sometimes mama's got to put her on a diet.
I will never forget the day you were like, I got a leash for her because she has to go for walks.
She hates it. She never goes. She hates the outdoors.
Wow.
Yeah, so wow, she's like being really chill right now. She must like you guys.
She said a podcast, ASMR. Wow, well, thanks, Marissa. Do you have anything else you want to say before we call before we call it a day?
Yeah, thank you so much for like bringing me on, and as I said before, just being so open and honest. I think it's really cool that you guys are doing this podcast, and I hope it takes off. And yeah, it's such a great idea, because like especially in this time with, you know, post-grad trying to navigate, and there's so many different things that we wouldn't have thought about without the way the world is now. Like I love that you guys are covering it and talking with people, and it's awesome. So yeah, thanks for bringing me on. It's been great talking with you guys.
Oh, thanks so much, Marissa.
What a gal. All right, Marissa. We'll talk.
It's been fun. Okay, bye guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.